Radio Reading Service now presents a reading of articles and features from USA Today for Friday, February 13th, Friday the 13th. Your reader for this hour is Chet Walczyk. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. We'll kick it off with the weekend edition and the cover section and a feature story, which gives us a little feel good to kick things off. Under the title of Girl Time Sets Patient on the Road to Healing. Jennifer Taylor's breast cancer story started like thousands of other women's by finding a lump. Her doctor guessed it was hormonal, but sent her for a mammogram and an ultrasound just to be sure. In the days leading up to her mammogram appointment, Taylor's nerves kicked in. She called her best friend, Adrienne Finkel, and asked, "It's probably nothing, but will you just come with me? Because I don't want to go by myself." On the brink of 40 and at the tail end of a devastating breakup, Finkel had just upended her life in Los Angeles and moved cross-country with her 2 dogs to start fresh in New York City, where Taylor and her family live. She didn't have a job yet, so it was an easy yes. "My husband was upset that I wanted Adrienne to come," Taylor said. It turned out to be good that she did, though, because men were not allowed in the back rooms where they anxiously awaited the results. Taylor might be onto something, though an American Perspectives survey in 2021 found that more than half of Americans go to their partner first when they have a problem. 16% said they go to a friend first. Several studies over the past 20 years have found that having good friends helps people live longer and contributes to better mental health outcomes. In 2016, a study of breast cancer patients found that women who had more social connections were less likely to suffer cancer recurrences and less likely to die from breast cancer than women who did not have a significant support system. The findings affirmed a similar study in China in 2011. I do feel so very lucky that I have Adrienne and that I have a group of friends that are there to support me, because a lot of women don't have that," Taylor said. Taylor and Finkel have been there for each other through everything since they met in preschool. They went to the same high school and college, were in plays together growing up, and saw each other through every birthday, breakup, job, ugly cry, belly laugh, and all the moments in between. "It's like being sisters," Finkel said. Taylor chimed in, "But better, because you wouldn't be as close with your sister." It only felt right that Finkel would be there for Taylor now as she was handed her most difficult challenge yet, a cancer diagnosis. "Adrienne fainted when doctors gave them the news," Taylor said. "I went into survival mode." That was in July 2025. Since then, Taylor has gone through 3 months of chemotherapy and a double mastectomy, all with Finkel at her side. Early on, Taylor's husband asked her whether she wanted him to be the one taking her to those initial appointments. Taylor told him no. She wanted it to be Finkel. Taylor loves her husband and her family, and they do sometimes visit her during treatments. But more often, she said, Taylor has Finkel and some of their other girlfriends spend those long hours with her in the hospital. She likes to listen to her friends talk about their lives and the more normal challenges of life at 40, like kids, work, and dating woes. They work on crafts together, bedazzling clothes and pill bottles. They watch Sex and the City. Some people want to be with their husbands. But the first day Jen really kept saying, "I just need Adrienne," Finkel said. "I think there's something that has felt kind of, not girly, but female about this whole experience." Their followers think so too. Taylor and Finkel started an Instagram account to post about Taylor's cancer journey. Most of their followers are women, Taylor said, and some of those women have become their friends. "The support is unreal," Taylor said. Taylor and Finkel know not all cancer patients have a best friend who lives close enough to go to appointments with them, let alone the time to do so. The timing is crazy, Finkel said. I happen to not have found a job yet, so my purpose became, be there with Jen. Whatever is going to happen, I am just going to be there. It was so sweet, Taylor said. Adrienne has had this thing inside of her that was like, I can never let Jennifer be alone in that scary hospital. And I didn't even think about that, but you did. They do have a core group of girlfriends from their college days at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music who still send one another birthday presents each year. They are our family too, Taylor said. Finkel reached out to them and kept them up to date about Taylor's condition, and some of those friends have come with Finkel to Taylor's chemo treatments. It's girl time, Finkel said. There's something about the gathering of women that is so healing. Taylor feels especially lucky to have such close girlfriends at her age, she said. A lot of women, a lot of their friendships kind of dissipate and fade away as they get older, she said. And it's really sad to me. Taylor and Finkel hope that their social media posts can help other cancer patients feel more hopeful. When Taylor was diagnosed, she said she tried to find other breast cancer patients online to connect with, and all of their videos were devastating. It was really depressing. It was really hard, and it didn't make me feel better, Taylor said. That's part of this whole journey, but it's not all of it. Taylor and Finkel make a point to find humor and laugh in their videos while explaining the realities of what cancer care looks like. I only knew what chemo was from watching scary movies and seeing people in a chair, kind of out of it, Taylor said. Women have reached out to them in recent months for support on their own cancer journeys. If I can handle this, you got this, girl, Taylor tells them, and you can do this. And now we have a side piece to a story that's been dominating the news for a couple of weeks, and I'm not quite sure why, but I do like this side piece. Can you protect your parents from afar? Guthrie case shows risks of elderly living alone. The kidnapping of Today anchor Savannah Guthrie's mother is sending shockwaves through the nation. The family is holding out hope for her safe return while raising concerns for people about the safety of their own elderly loved ones living alone. The search for Nancy Guthrie, 84, has just surpassed its 12th day, with authorities releasing images and videos of a masked and armed individual appearing to tamper with Guthrie's Nest doorbell camera the morning she was taken. The octogenarian was last seen January 31st when family members dropped her off at her home in Tucson, Arizona after a game night. In the search for their mother, the NBC anchor and her siblings have issued emotional public statements asking for her safety and to bring her home. Guthrie's situation is frightening and rare, but it sheds light on the safety concerns of our elderly loved ones, especially for family members who don't live with or near them. In the United States, 27% of adults 60 or older live alone, higher than in other parts of the world, according to 2020 Pew Research Center data. From accidents such as falling to developing Alzheimer's disease, seniors who live alone can face challenges, and many of their family members want to do their best in keeping them as safe as possible, even from far away. As our population ages and cognitive difficulties become more common, these sorts of issues come to the forefront. Sadly, I think this is not something that is as isolated as it used to be, said Dr. Jacob Blumenthal, a physician specializing in geriatrics and associate professor at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Being attentive, remaining mindful, and planning ahead like a good Boy Scout is the best defense. So what went wrong with the safety measures already in place? Well, Nancy Guthrie's home was safeguarded by a Nest doorbell camera, a common security option for many Americans. According to authorities, her camera was disconnected at 1:47 a.m. the morning she went missing. At 2:12 a.m., a smartphone software detected someone on the camera. At first, Video footage of the potential suspect wasn't available under Guthrie's subscription plan, but it was recovered by authorities and private sector partners. These types of security cameras help many people feel their homes are safer and can strengthen a broader security system, especially for seniors who live alone. While cameras may record or alert if a door or window is opened, they will not prevent someone with dementia from wandering away from the house. A multifaceted system of smart home technology, including not only cameras, but also smart sensors that lock doors, windows, or drawers via a phone app, can offer a greater safety benefit, according to Emily Neighbors, Associate Director of Innovation at the National Council on Aging, or NCOA. A long-distance caregiver should and could hook their phone to the sensors and be alerted to open doors or scan and actively lock one from another location. Elder safety encompasses many aspects of welfare beyond just good health. This includes medications, risk of falling, mobility, vision, and balance. Then there is mental health, plus the importance of social connection and the ability to do things they enjoy with loved ones or participate in their community. Loneliness and isolation have been linked to heart disease, dementia, and other medical conditions. Safety and security also play a role, from a home free of hazards to AI phone scams that are becoming more prevalent among older generations. As families evaluate their elderly relatives' needs and risks, they should keep in mind that letting their senior maintain their autonomy can also make a big difference in their well-being. It's important to balance risk with independence, Neighbors added. Allowing people to keep doing some tasks on their own, like brushing their teeth, is critical for keeping their sense of self in the world. Family members should watch for warning signs of common medical conditions in aging adults, such as dementia. Generally, we think of more routine things, like maybe they're burning themselves, or they're not paying their checks, and getting confused about things. Little things are coming up, maybe not meeting their friends, said Catherine Ornstein, professor in the School of Nursing at Johns Hopkins and director for the Center for Equity in Aging. Their types of home situation also plays a role in an elderly person's safety risk. The other issue that's relevant to the Guthrie situation, which I've been thinking about, is just older adults living alone. And that is a huge issue. That is not uncommon, Ornstein continued. When an older person lives alone, it can be difficult for families to assess their risk because they don't see them on a daily basis. Divvying up regular visits and check-ins among family members means someone is always observing and with them while providing much-needed social connection. NCOA offers home safety checklists for families to assess whether their loved one's environment is set up to support them, such as removing other hazards. An occupational therapist can also be helpful by evaluating how they interact with their home and make recommendations, such as a shower bench if they're struggling to bathe. It depends on their needs, which can change over time, but here are some suggestions from experts on elderly abuse. Number 1. Medical alert devices such as Life Alert help seniors get emergency assistance even if no one is around or they can't reach out for help by phone, according to Ornstein. Number 2. If someone with dementia tends to wander off, Blumenthal recommends posting simple signs around the house reminding them not to exit the house or including a phone number for a trusted family member. These can cue the senior before they leave. Number 3. ID bracelets are useful in identifying someone if they do manage to wander out of their home, and smartphones also have location tracking that loved ones can be connected to. Number 4. Easy home modifications such as night lights, grab bars, and anti-slip mats in the shower can reduce the risk of injury. And lastly, senior-focused programs like Meals on Wheels provide food, social interaction, and check-ins on elders who live alone. It can be nerve-wracking to be a long-distance caregiver, but technology allows people to stay connected from miles away. It's about finding what works for you and your family. Caregivers can monitor their loved ones with indoor cameras, provided there are discussions about any privacy issues. These cameras also often have speakers and microphones so families can communicate with each other in real time if they see something. Alarms for doors and windows, smart locks, or wearables that detect movement are other options that boost safety and can connect to the caregiver's smartphones. In some cases, enlisting a trusted neighbor or doctor into an emergency plan is helpful, but it's very personal and individualized, Blumenthal said. Continued conversations and having loved ones work together are the key to supporting their senior. You want to protect them, but you also want to respect their independence, and it's a delicate balance, he said. You are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time checks in at 16 minutes after the hour. And here's something interesting as we change gears. Gallup ends presidential approval polls. The Gallup, that's Gallup, Gallup Corporation, will no longer measure presidential approval, the analytics firm confirmed on February 11th. Founded by George Gallup in 1935, the Washington, D.C.-based company began tracking the president's job performance 88 years ago. Gallup told USA Today it will no longer publish favorability ratings of political figures, a decision it said reflects an evolution in how Gallup focuses its public research and thought leadership. A statistician and founder of the American Institute of Public Opinion, Gallup first sent pollsters across the United States during the Depression era to ask people whether they approved or disapproved of how the nation's commander-in-chief was handling his job. Since its inception, journalists have used the polls to disseminate that information to the public. In addition to tracking a president's popularity, the polls also reveal partisanship and other rapid public opinion moves while a president is in office. The change is part of a broader, ongoing effort to align all of Gallup's public work with its mission, the company wrote in an email. For nearly a century, Gallup's U.S. polling has provided rigorous, independent insight into the American people, their perspectives, values, and lives. Leadership ratings have been part of Gallup's history. At the same time, the context around these measures has changed. Gallup said the ratings are now widely produced, aggregated, and interpreted, and no longer represent an area where Gallup can make its most distinctive contribution. Our commitment is to long-term, methodologically sound research on issues and conditions that shape people's lives, the company wrote, adding that its work will continue through the Gallup Poll Social Services, the Gallup Quarterly Business Review, the World Poll, and more. It was not immediately known what other factors led up to the company's decision. Gallup polling officially began in 1938. Powered by its, quote, ability to ask the right questions, more than 95% of the world's population is represented by the Gallup World Poll, the company's website reads. More than 4,000 organizations use Gallup's workplace performance platform, the company said. Buddhist monks spread their message of kindness. Peace Walk pilgrimage ends in nation's capital. On their second day in Washington, D.C., a group of venerable Buddhist monks from Texas marked the end of their multi-month walking pilgrimage at the Lincoln Memorial. Approximately 24 monks had embarked on the 2,300-mile journey from the Huang Dao Vipassana Bhavna Center in Fort Worth to the nation's capital. The journey began on October 26th and ended on February 12th, when the men will board a bus in Maryland and travel back home. Once they arrive back in Fort Worth, they will conduct a walk to their temple. While standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial, Biko Panakara, the leader of the Walk for Peace, thanked the monks' community, the governors, pastors, reverends, and local law enforcement officials who welcomed them along their way. He invited attendees to participate in mindfulness and choose love and kindness. Love and kindness does not need power, money, or a title. It is simply the choice to stop before hurting, to sharpen before speaking, Panakaro said. If each person takes just 1 second to ask, will this hurt anyone? Well, the world would already be kinder. The monks walked, sometimes barefoot, across Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia to reach the capital, having recently traversed freezing weather that hit the southern United States and the East Coast. At times, the journey was perilous. In November, the monks' security vehicle was involved in a traffic collision outside Houston that left 2 of the men hospitalized. A pickup truck driver struck the car accompanying the group and pushed it into them. One monk needed to have his leg amputated, while the other suffered less severe injuries. Also in January, Aloka, the group's 4-year-old pooch, needed to undergo surgery for an injury to one of his legs. The pup has since reunited with the men. The trek aimed to promote national healing, unity, and compassion as the nation faces challenges of division, mental health crises, and conflict both at home and abroad. The Walk for Peace seeks to remind Americans that peace is not a destination, it is a practice. This pilgrimage offers a simple yet profound message. Peace begins with the heart of each person and extends outward to families, communities, and the nation as a whole. A news release stated. During their journey, thousands of people came out to greet the monks, who were welcomed into communities, churches, and state capitals as streets were packed with well-wishers and police officers. Children often were seen handling the monks flowers, who in return gifted blessing strings. In Georgia, they encountered a wedding, and the monks blessed the bride and groom. In Washington, D.C., on February 11th, hundreds of people came out to commemorate the end of their journey with them. As the men walked along the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial to the steps, a united crowd cheered, while some cried tears of admiration. Millions of people have followed the men on social media since their journey began. Aloka, the dog, has his own Facebook page with about 1 million followers. The monks have 2.8 million followers on Facebook and 1.3 million followers on TikTok. Buddhist monks often undertake long walking pilgrimages that may last for months. During pilgrimages, monks observe a strict ascetic code, often includes sleeping under trees and eating 1 meal per day. Amber Kilroy, 46, a dog walker and sitter from Rogers, Arkansas, attended the Washington event wearing an Aloka sweatshirt. She told USA Today that she's been following the monks since October, and their walk inspired her to start on her own mindfulness journey. I just feel like the monks really resonate on a level that relates to all human beings regardless of religion or background, Kilroy said. When people get around the monks, they're actually able to face their suffering and kind of let it go, or feel in some way that this energy alleviates some of that. Lana Lewis, 37, passed out carnations to those gathered outside the memorial. Flowers are symbolic in Buddhism and reflect core teachings such as impermanence, enlightenment, and interconnectedness. The carnations she passed out were donated by an American immigrant who could not attend the event, she noted, as a symbol of American peace and nonviolence. A restaurant worker in Washington, Lewis said it was important for her to attend the event to confront what she called an anxious point in history. People are very fearful for their lives, for other people's lives, for their freedoms and rights. It's just a moment where I think everyone is looking for some community, she said. Isn't that the coolest, boy? These monks, they got the right idea. I'm going to have to learn a little bit more about that. Moderna. FDA will not review a flu vaccine. The Food and Drug Administration has refused to review Moderna's application for its seasonal flu vaccine, the company announced on February 10th, marking the latest setback for the development of mRNA-based vaccines. In a news release, Moderna said it received a refusal to file letter from the FDA that took issue with the company's decision to compare its new vaccine to a licensed standard dose seasonal influenza shot. The company noted that the FDA did not identify any specific safety or efficacy concerns with the vaccine. The letter from Dr. Vinay Prasad, director of the FDA Center for Biologic Evaluation and Research, specifically cited that the application did not contain an adequate and well-controlled trial because the control arm does not reflect the best available standard of care. Moderna said the FDA's rejection was inconsistent with feedback the agency provided in 2025. The company added that it has requested a meeting with the regulator to understand the path forward. The decision by CBER, the Center for Biologic Evaluation and Research, which did not identify any safety or efficacy concerns with our product, does not further our shared goal of enhancing America's leadership in developing innovative medicines, Moderna CEO Stefan Benkel said in a statement. It should not be controversial to conduct a comprehensive review of a flu vaccine submission that uses an FDA-approved vaccine as a comparator in a study that was discussed and agreed on with CBER prior to starting. The company used Fluarix as its standard dose comparator in an over 40,000-person clinical trial for the new mRNA flu shot called mRNA-1010. Moderna said last year that mRNA-1010 vaccine was 26.6% more effective than an FDA-approved annual flu shot. During the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland in January, Bankel said the company does not plan to invest in new late-stage vaccine trials because of growing opposition to immunizations from U.S. officials. You cannot make a return on investment if you don't have access to the U.S. market, Bankel told Bloomberg TV, adding that regulatory delays and a lack of support from officials make the market size much smaller. Last year, Moderna withdrew its application seeking approval for its flu and COVID combination vaccine to wait for efficacy data from a late-stage trial of its flu vaccine. The vaccine is under review in the European Union, Canada, and Australia, with the company expecting potential approvals to come in late 2026 or early 27. The move comes just more than a month after federal regulators overhauled their long-standing guidance on childhood immunization and rolled back recommendations for routine vaccination against 6 infectious diseases, including the flu. In August 2025, the Department of Health and Human Services said it would wind down mRNA vaccine development under its Biomedical Research Unit. The unit, Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, helped companies develop medical supplies to address public health threats and had provided billions of dollars to develop vaccines during the COVID pandemic. Major medical organizations and health experts have criticized Secretary RFK policies, including Jerome Adams, the U.S. Surgeon General under President Trump's first term. Following HHS's August announcement, Adams said mRNA vaccine cuts were going to cost lives. mRNA technology has uses that go far beyond vaccines, and the vaccine they helped develop in record time is credited with saving millions, Adams said in a post on X. You are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 30 minutes after the hour, and we jump over to the USA Today opinion section for Friday, February 13th. And this piece is written by Alex Ward. He is an opinion contributor and a high school economics teacher and a father of 3. Mr. Ward's piece is entitled, "Suppressing the Appetite is Not Our Answer to Obesity Crisis." Well, the pharmaceutical giant Novo Nordisk has claimed that its new weight loss pill will do amazing things for the 100 million Americans living with obesity. However, a study published in January throws cold water on the hype. Researchers at the University of Oxford analyzed 37 studies and found that people who stopped taking anti-obesity medications experienced rapid weight regain and reversal of beneficial effects, returning to their pre-treatment size in under 2 years. The report concludes that without lifestyle changes aided by medical, nutrition, and other professionals, even the best weight loss drugs end up being expensive ways to change nothing at all. That matters for Novo's new Wegovy pill. Like other GLP-1 weight loss drugs, it suppresses appetite by mimicking a hormone that signals fullness to the brain. But it is different because it is the first to be available as a tablet rather than a shot. The pill is marketed as opening new possibilities for obese Americans, in part because it does not require daily injections and is significantly cheaper than existing jabs. Patients can buy the new Wegovy pill for as little as $5 a day or $149 a month at the lowest dose. In sharp contrast, shots that have cost as much as $1,000 monthly. By suppressing appetite and improving metabolic control, Wegovy can give a physiological reset that diet and willpower alone often fail to deliver. But as an economics teacher and a father of 3, I know that there's far more to any success than a simple pill. Teachers like me use tools all the time to help students. For example, we can have them quickly use artificial intelligence to find answers about mortgage interest rates or saving accounts as part of a broader lesson about personal finance. By giving students homework to talk to their parents about banking and buying homes, we create a holistic learning process by which the student internalizes what those numbers mean. Then, like a fitness coach partnered with a nutritionist, we take it to the next level. My students are thinking about college, so I help them look 10 years ahead to their first home. How much will they spend on college? What is their potential income from specific degrees? And how much savings will they need to buy a home? Thinking through the debt load alone requires researching the initial information, understanding the greater context, and then putting everything together into a unique picture for their future. The same principle applies to wellness. Health is not achieved by a pill. It requires sustained diet, exercise, sleep, and daily habits. That highlights the fact that Wegovy isn't cheap if patients have to keep going back for more, and later in life deal with expensive and potentially deadly side effects. It's just like a student who doesn't understand the role of AI as a tool, not a replacement for thinking, and constantly finds themselves tangled in personal finance challenges. The final step to major life success is having community. For high school students, that starts with parents and teachers. Likewise, as the Oxford researchers showed, significant weight loss gains last longer when the drugs come on top of a comprehensive plan, undoubtedly developed and reinforced with doctors, fitness professionals, nutritionists, and probably family and close community. Big Pharma wants to dazzle Americans by lowering the upfront cost of weight loss drugs. But when the drugs don't work without a holistic program, they're still too expensive at any price. Anything that helps Americans lose weight, reduces barriers to treatment, and makes care more affordable deserves to be welcomed. But let's not fool ourselves into thinking that drug companies have solved obesity. There you go. Nothing is ever as easy as it sounds. You are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 35 minutes after the hour, and we move on to what USA Today calls the money section, but it is essentially a travel and tourism section. So we have to take what they give us, and we'll start off with one of their feature stories, Cruising Altitude, written by Zach Wichter, a USA Today travel columnist. Tips for overcoming travel anxiety. I went from flight panic to flying for a living. Believe it or not, there was a time I was afraid to fly. As a child, I had horrible travel anxiety. My parents used to dissolve anti-anxiety meds into apple juice to get me on a plane. If you had told me 30 years ago that I'd be writing this column from a plane, I would not have believed you. I probably would have thrown up just thinking about it. Through lots of therapy and gradual exposure to travel, I eventually overcame my travel anxiety. But I also credit a lot of my progress to one person, my professional hero, the travel presenter Samantha Brown. Even when I was too panicky to travel myself, her shows allowed me to see how much fun exploring the world could be. When the opportunity to interview Brown in December came across my desk, I seized it. It was a dream come true. I would have a chance to meet my main travel inspiration, and I could finally thank her in person for how much she helped me grow. To be honest, I was a little embarrassed to admit all of this to Brown. Well, there's that anxiety again, but she assured me these feelings were normal. Just about everybody's anxious. I am still anxious when I travel. I get nervous about my flight. I get nervous that there's going to be either traffic or problems at the airport, and then, even when I land, I get really nervous. It's somewhere new, Brown told me. If you think about that, we're all super confident. That's what you've got to do to travel. Not at all. You really are just winging it. Even though I'm an experienced traveler now, I can't tell you how reassuring it was to know that she also gets anxious. It turns out I had the right idea when I started watching her shows too. Exposure and learning about how travel works are some of the best tools to combat this kind of anxiety, according to experts. Samantha Brown is still making television, but her programs aren't the only way for someone with travel anxiety to face their fears. If you suffer from travel anxiety as I did, well, this one's for you. Where does travel anxiety come from? Anxiety isn't necessarily rational, but it is explainable. It's all about uncertainty. Uncertainty makes us anxious. We like when things are within our control. Regine Galanti, director of Long Island Behavioral Psychology, told me. There are a lot of elements of uncertainty all piled up on top of each other, and that lack of familiarity with the system. Galanti said that uncertainty is why infrequent travelers are often more prone to anxiety than experienced ones. When you look at business travelers, they typically have less travel anxiety, Galanti said, because they know what to expect and have the routines in place. Knowing where anxiety comes from is the first step to confronting it, both in the moment and in the long run. How can you manage your anxiety while you are traveling? This is probably the hardest thing to do. When you're already panicking, it can be so difficult to calm down and take stock of what's going on, but it's important to try. Kevin Chapman, director of the Kentucky Center for Anxiety and Related Disorders, boiled it down to two main methods: breathing and remaining. Regulating your breathing is essential, he said, explaining that a technique of inhaling through your nose for 4 seconds and out through your mouth for 6 seconds can help calm you down. The breathing skill is a portable tool that helps you confront difficult situations. Again, that's a technique of inhaling through your nose for 4 seconds and out through your mouth for 6 seconds. Beyond that, Chapman added, it's important to avoid using your anxiety as an excuse to run away from something. Remaining is key. Escape avoidance reinforces that. The thing that's causing your anxiety might be dangerous. Chapman said that it's a good idea to lay the groundwork for yourself if you're heading into a situation you know is likely to make you anxious. Galanti agreed and said leaning into your anxiety is a good way of getting your hands around it. Trying to figure out what you can control. If it's leaving for the airport 16 hours early, if you know you're a person who will feel better once you get through security, don't fight that, she said. Just plan to go early because you know that will make you feel better. Galanti added that it's okay to know your limits. I know the day I travel, I'm going to wake up with a pit in my stomach because I like to be in control. I don't drink coffee and I don't eat as much because that's going to make the physical symptoms of anxiety worse. And can you overcome travel anxiety long term? Well, if you want to overcome your anxiety more permanently, you have to be ready to confront the things that set it off. Exposure, gradually confronting travel, Chapman said. The key is learning that I can tolerate being uncomfortable and that traveling is not, in fact, dangerous. Samantha Brown also approves of this method. If there are nerves, start slow. Start with day trips. Work up to weekends. And it really does change your life. No question about it, she said. And if you're not quite ready to get out there yourself, Samantha Brown's Places to Love is a great gateway to the world from the comfort of home. Senior-friendly trips balance adventure and downtimes. And this is written by Kathy Boardman, who has a website entitled FamilyVacations.com. Many seniors have an interest in staying active while traveling, and many senior travel tour companies offer senior adventures to appeal to those travelers. But even among tour companies that cater to the over 50 crowd, not every adventure is going to fit every traveler. For one thing, the 50-plus age range spans decades of life experience, interest, and physical ability. Some active seniors want downtime between adventures. Others have health or mobility considerations or are traveling with less active companions. And while few are chasing specific bucket list goals, many simply want to go somewhere enjoyable, do something engaging, and stay healthy. With that in mind, here are 5 types of trips designed to suit a range of travel styles and interest for active seniors. Number 1, walking, hiking, and cycling tours. Many tour companies for seniors offer walking and cycling adventures that allow active older travelers to combine outdoor and urban experiences. European tours are especially well designed for taking walkers and cyclists into beautiful towns and countrysides on a single trip. 2 companies I recommend are Country Walkers and VBT Bicycling Vacations, which offer both U.S. and international tours with guided and self-guided options. They also provide all the support you'll need during your trip. Most senior travel tour companies specify a trip's activity level, and many will tell you approximately how many miles you'll cover each day on foot or bike. Active Travel Specialist at Backroads also categorizes its tours according to traveler type. While it does not list a 50 and older group, active seniors who enjoy traveling with family or a variety of age groups may fit under family or 20 and older, and a division of Backroads called Dolce Tempo offers several levels of easygoing adventures perfect for seniors. Madagascar, in its offerings, is also included. Its 5 activity levels are geared to seniors. Senior cycling focuses on the United States and Canada. Road Scholar has an impressive list of walking and hiking trips and a few cycling trips that include kayak and barge journeys. Number 2 are Skip Gen vacations. Skip Gen travel is an emerging trend where grandparents and grandkids vacation together while skipping the generation in between. Children can keep seniors active, though it can be challenging to find activities that both generations can happily share. A pioneer in this area, Road Scholar offers all kinds of multi-generational and skip-gen learning adventures throughout the world. Talk, that's Tauck, offers kid-tested on-tour adventures such as ziplining in Costa Rica and jet boating in Alaska with its Talk Bridges family tours. Small groups guided tour company Intrepid Travel designates certain tours for families only. Like Backroads, Intrepid offers many active travel choices but does not specifically address seniors. Some trips may require especially fit grandparents. Number 3, let's take a look at national parks and state parks. In recent years, many older travelers have opted to roam near home, choosing senior adventures that offer active pursuits but don't require long plane trips. The 63 U.S. national parks are superb travel destinations for seniors to pursue biking, birding, water sports, climbing, diving, fishing, hiking, and wilderness backpacking, horseback riding, water sports, and winter sports. Breathtaking scenery also can be found at the Canadian national parks. State parks generally are less crowded and can be equally rewarding for senior adventures. Several national parks could fit inside the 6 million acres of Adirondack State Park in New York. It's one I recommend. It is beautiful, and boy, it's so close to here. Beautiful Letchworth State Park, another great one so close to here. And Franconia Notch State Park in New Hampshire draw visitors from all over the world. Hikers, cyclists, and riders can enjoy hoodoo rock formations at Texas Palo Duro Canyon State Park and seasonal wildflowers at California's Anza Borrego Desert State Park. And at number 4, we have extended stays. Extended stays in a single destination allow seniors with a differing activity level to enjoy a vacation together. Resorts make it possible for some guests to stay on the beach or by the pool, while others take the bus into town or arrange for tours and other activities. Seniors who love all aspects of planning can use vacation rental booking sites like Vrbo or Airbnb to investigate and schedule their own outings. The educational travel company Smithsonian Journeys takes a different approach with its cultural stays. 1-week visits in places such as Florence, Normandy, France, come with itineraries that allow seniors to be as active as they wish in exploring the neighborhood and region. 3-week living-in stays in destinations like Andalusia, Spain, Lisbon, Portugal, and Provence, France, place travelers in apartment hotels and offer interest-based tracks that include cooking, language instruction, and hiking. And lastly, we have river cruises. In the United States and overseas, river cruises combine the opportunity to experience different places with a chance to easily disembark at ports offering walking, cycling, and other sightseeing options. Travelers are assigned cabins for the trip's duration and may choose not to disembark at a given stop. This makes river travel ideal for the active senior with a less active travel partner or partners. In Europe, river boats from many companies sail the Rhine, Danube, Douro, Seine, and Volga rivers. Walking tours and just plain wandering are available at nearly every stop, and many companies now make free bikes available for independent touring. Some offer guided excursions at ports where cycling is especially good. Viking provides a bicycle tour of Netherlands' Kinderijk windmills as part of an Amsterdam to Antwerp, Belgium voyage. Avalon Waterways sails European rivers and includes activities like e-biking through vineyards or pedaling through scenic villages on its active and Discovery River cruises. Uniworld has a Budapest-Hungary to Passau, Germany voyage where cyclists can ride one way on several stretches. AMA Waterways features a wellness program on each of its ships and offers cycling tours of many ports as well as some hiking options. Over 50, not over the hill. 5 active trip ideas for seniors age 50 plus was first published by FamilyVacationist.com. So there you go. Plan your next trip. You are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 51 minutes after the hour, and we continue with the USA Today Money, Travel, Tourism section, whatever you want to call it. Our next piece is written under the heading of On Travel by Christopher Elliott, another USA Today travel columnist. Charging an EV on trip nearly broke me. Nathan Heinrich wanted an adventure when he rented a Ford Mustang Mach-E SUV for a Northern California road trip. Instead, he got a misadventure. The car operated beautifully, remembered Heinrich, a horticulturalist and podcaster. But a day later, he heard the bling bling warning him his battery level had dropped below 20%. He pulled into a Walgreens for a quick charge. When I came back an hour later, there was only a 30% charge, he said. For the next week, he frantically hopscotched between charging stations looking for a little extra juice. Often, there was only one charging station that worked, he said, and it took hours to recharge. When it comes to long road trips, EVs are thrilling, nerve-wracking, and infuriating. It's thrilling the first time you pass a gas station and realize you don't have to pay those high pump prices. It's nerve-wracking when you can't find a charging station on a long road trip. And it's infuriating when you realize it will take hours for your battery to charge. Heinrich's experience will be shared by millions of others during the upcoming vacation season. Taking your EV on a long journey still demands a leap of faith. A recent Mazda survey found that while 21% of North Americans plan to take some type of electric vehicle on a road trip, 26% of respondents felt neutral about the prospect of driving long distances in an EV, and 7% said it could be difficult. But with the right mindset and tools, that leap lands you squarely in the future, saving money, reducing emissions, and discovering a new rhythm to the open road. So are you ready for an EV road trip this summer? How do you know if your adventure is EV safe? It boils down to route, range, and real-time readiness. Ditch the guesswork. Here's what experts say. Prep like a pro. Sean Tucker, lead editor for Kelley Blue Book, advises a full pre-trip charge. Reset the cap and charge to 100%, he said. Also, download all necessary network apps and set up account payments before leaving. Tesla owners have an advantage because they can just plug in, unplug, and leave. For non-Teslas, prepayment setup is important. Carry physical charging cards as backups. Consult the right sites. Sites like PlugShare and a Better Route Planner, which let you plan your EV road trip, are a must. You can plan out your trip ahead of time, said James Morin, an automotive journalist and longtime EV owner. The sites use AI to determine how many people have charged and any issues they face. That can help you avoid situations like a closed charging station or one blocked by construction. Set your range. Don't take an EV over a journey where maps don't show a charging station at least every 200 miles, warns Carl Rodriguez, founder of NX Auto Transport, an auto shipping company. He said multiple charging stations are a must. I have heard clients complain about vandalism, which renders charging stations unusual. And make strategic charging stops. Kirsty Scott, who recently took an epic 10,000-mile U.S. trek in her VW ID Buzz, said you have to plan around your charging stops. When we stop to charge, we get out, get a coffee, snack, or lunch, take a bathroom break, toss out the car trash, wash the bugs off the windshield, check emails and socials, and talk with other EV owners who always want to see inside the van, she said. And in less than a half an hour on a fast charger, she's back on the road. So there you go. If you want an EV trip, plan. You are listening to reading of articles and features from USA Today for Friday, February 13th on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We will return for more readings after this short break. Your reader for this hour has been Chet Walzig. I hope you have a great Friday the 13th, a happy Valentine's Day, and a wonderful weekend. I'm glad you were able to join us. I'm glad I was able to be with you, and we do look forward to catching up the next time. Take care.
We'll continue now with our reading of articles from today's issue of the USA Today. Your reader for this hour is Nancy. So now we're on to the Life section, which is Section B. Streaming. Capturing real-life star style was a labor of love, from Aaron Jensen. How do you recreate a love story that captivated the country? Red, white, and blue-blooded JFK Jr. was as close to American royalty as we've ever gotten. Born on November 25th, 1960, less than 2 months before his dad and namesake's inauguration, the life of the late Kennedy, known lovingly as John John, is preserved in the national memory. There are photos of his early years playing beneath President Kennedy's desk in the Oval Office and later saluting his dad's casket when the funeral fell on JFK Jr.'s 3rd birthday. The snapshots continued into his adulthood as the young professional took bike rides throughout New York City and jogs in Central Park. With an athletic build and movie star good looks inherited from his father and glamorous mother Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, it was no wonder that People magazine named him their sexiest man alive in 1988. There's a sense of ownership the public felt about the dashing 61 Kennedy Jr., says Connor Hines, creator of Love Story, JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. The 9-part limited series premiered 3 episodes on FX and Hulu on February 12th, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, then 1 weekly. And so there's going to be tremendous pressure and expectations on whoever it was that he chose to marry, because people felt so strongly about him. They felt so strongly about the family. There was so much reverence for them, he tells USA Today. An effortlessly chic and beautiful yet shy young woman from White Plains, New York, Bessette shunned the paparazzi and global media attention she and her partner inspired. Perhaps what was most remarkable about Carolyn was that she was such a super empath, which on the flip side makes one super sensitive, writes Elizabeth Beller in her 2024 book that inspired the series, Once Upon a Time, The Captivating Life of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. It's painful to think that someone who was able to care for friends the way Carolyn did, to read their emotions because she was so in tune with what everyone felt, was on the receiving end of so much jealousy that manifested in blind denigration. It was the height of tabloid culture, says Sarah Pidgeon, the 29-year-old who portrays Bessette, opposite Paul Anthony Kelly as John Jr., Naomi Watts plays matriarch Jackie, and Grace Gummer embodies Carolyn Kennedy, the only surviving member of their immediate family. You might have seen the Tony-nominated Pidgeon in Amazon's 2-season plane crash survival drama, The Wilds, or Hulu's limited series, Tiny Beautiful Things. The stories written about the couple, and Bessette in particular, were so misogynistic, Pidgeon tells USA Today. There was this narrative that they wanted to stick to, generally, and this characterization of her that I've just found couldn't be further from the woman I came to know. Hines' research taught him these were 2 people who were very much in love, but were plagued with just impossible obstacles that would nearly break anybody. But in the end, they always would have chosen each other. Kennedy Jr. and Bessette married on September 21st, 1996. They picked the tiny Cumberland Island, Georgia, a destination accessible only by boat, in an effort to keep their union private. The Love Story production team put forth every effort to mimic their wedding venue, the First African Baptist Church, which was erected in 1893, including using antique wood. True to life, they filmed the wedding by candlelight, Hines says. The actual church lacked electricity and the bride ran late. But the pair's wedded bliss was short-lived. They died on July 16, 1999, when a plane piloted by Kennedy Jr. crashed. They were headed for Hyannisport for his cousin Rory Kennedy's wedding. Bisset's sister, Lauren Bisset, also was on board. Kelly, a model turned actor hailing from Port McNoll, Ontario, believes that the couple's abrupt end is partly why the fascination lingers today. I think it continues decades later because it's unfinished, unfortunately, he tells USA Today at the series' February 3rd premiere held at Carnegie Hall. It's a great tragedy they aren't here. They were two individuals who really lived life to the absolute fullest that they could, and there's something very admirable about that. The role for 37-year-old Kelly is his first go-to as an actor, he says, acknowledging the weight that comes with playing Kennedy Jr. But my whole intention of telling this dramatic retelling of their story, which is to come in with the utmost integrity, truth, honesty, and care. How did Kelly and Pigeon transform for Love Story? Besides her co-star in a February 2nd interview, Pigeon boasts that she spent less time in the hair and makeup chair than her colleague. Usually, you would think this takes a lot more work, she says, self-deprecating. But Kelly had some tattoos they needed to cover. Every time I was shirtless in the show, Kelly begins before Pigeon interjects, which is a fair amount. He agrees, especially in the first episode, he says. I don't feel like I wear many clothes at all. It would have be an extra 2 hours for cover-up and then like an hour for hair and makeup. Kelly makes achieving that perfectly coiffed Kennedy hairdo seem like a small feat, a blowout every day, just a little bit of water and a hairdryer, and a lot of brushwork. Pigeon, a natural brunette, estimates she spent 22 hours in the hair salon over 2 days to lighten her locks within the realm of Bisset blonde. The shade is warmer than the ash blonde wig she wore in controversial test shots released in June that were widely panned. Bisset's colorist, Brad Johns, wrote off the initial style to Vogue as too 2024, but found Pigeon's dyed hair to be much closer to the real thing, he told the outlet. I can breathe again. Recreating Bisset's effortless sense of style. Achieving Bisset's signature hue wasn't the only hurdle faced. Bisset still is revered for her minimalist, sharp style today. She had an effortless quality to the quiet luxury that she exuded, executive producer Brad Simpson says. And no matter how much she tried to recline in the background, it made people want more and more of her. She was a style icon who didn't want to be looked at. It's incredible. Bisset favored such designers as Miu Miu, Prada, and Yuki Yamanoto. Her style was never a production, Narciso Rodriguez told Elle in 2025. Rodriguez designed Bisset's iconic slip dress wedding gown, and the two worked together at Calvin Klein. It was just something innate. Even when she wore the most complicated Yoi piece, it was natural. Early on, viral love story shots broke hearts and sparked rancorous discourse with their styling choices. Then came costume designer Rudy Mance from Feud Monster, also Ryan Murphy Productions. He came on board after we were getting some rightful criticism, but from some very early tests, Simpson says. People need to understand that when you're making a TV show or a movie, you make it over 9 months. You're constantly adjusting. Having said that, the fan base and the people who love her and study her were correct in pointing out some of the things that we were figuring out. Manson consultants elevated the on-screen Carolyn's wardrobe. We went to people who collected her clothes, Simpson says. So Sarah's wearing a lot of pieces that Carolyn owned. And if we couldn't get the actual piece, we meticulously recreated them from scratch. Movies. Kids should get a kick out of GOAT, which is go over every terrain. The Golden State Warrior is not only in the GOAT, greatest of all time, conversation when it comes to three-point shooting, but he also is one of the major creative forces behind the underdog sports movie GOAT, in theaters now. Stranger Things standout Caleb McLaughlin voices an undersized young GOAT who gets a chance to live his dream and play professional rollerball, which is like basketball but way more extreme, with all-gender teams full of assorted animals playing against one another in crazy, intense environments. GOAT has a wide appeal, from young hoopsters to small film fans. But is it okay for little ones? Here's what parents need to know going in. What is GOAT about? Will Harris, voiced by McLaughlin, has been a fan of his hometown team, the Vineland Thorns, since his mom, played by Jennifer Hudson, took him to his first game as a little goat to see his idol, Black Panther Jet Fillmore, played by Gabrielle Union. Years later, he's got game, but this small can't even get on a court because the larger animals won't let him. A chance one-on-one pickup game between Will and Cocky Horse main attraction, Aaron Pierre, goes viral, and Will is signed by Thorns owner Flo Everson, Jennifer Lewis, as a publicity stunt to help her losing squad. To get playing time, Will needs to prove himself to this motley crew, especially reluctant teammate Jet, who's determined to finally win a championship. He begins to find his groove and his place as an undersized dude in a game full of bigs. What's the movie's age rating? GOAT is rated PG by the Motion Picture Association for some rude humor and brief, mild language. There's nothing overly egregious on either count, though. Will is sprayed with toilet water in one sequence, farts are weaponized, and you might have to explain a diss track to your children, since some players take their beefs off the roar-ball court. But if you're cool with a couple of instances of the word suck and the use of oh sheep instead of the other S word, no one should be that offended by anything. How long is the movie? GOAT has a running time of 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's a little on the longer side for a kids' movie, but it moves at a pretty good clip. The exciting roar ball scenes help. Does Steph Curry play a role? Curry, a producer on the movie, voices the giraffe Lenny, one of the Thorns players and an aspiring rapper. Will's teammates include Rhino Dad, Archie, David Harbour, Weirdo Komodo Dragon Moto, Nick Kroll, and Speedy Ostrich Olivia, Nicola Coughlan. Among the rest of the cast, Patton Oswalt plays the Thorns coach Dennis. Grammy singer Jelly Roll is a Grizzly baller named Grizz, and basketball pro Jay Wilson, Kevin Love, Dwayne Wade, and Angel Reese cameo as rope ball players. Is GOAT appropriate for kids? GOAT's a slam dunk for kids of all ages, especially basketball fans. The littlest ones might not get all the references to sneakerhead culture and real-life animal behaviors, such as Will's panoramic goat vision on the court, or thematic nuances, such as Jet's complicated history with Vineland as a celebrity who can't win the big one. Will they enjoy a goat throwing down with a beefy grizzly bear and a macho horse? Naturally. The sweet spot here is around 6 or 7 to preteen, those kids who can understand Will's plight of being small but wanting to be able to play with others and not be seen as less than or an outsider. The main character is a likable hero, realizing how our differences make us stronger and respecting his friends and teammates, while also honoring his mom. Will's mom dies sometime between the opening scenes and his young adult years. but the hows and whys aren't shown or revealed. Instead, the movie leans into how much she still means to him. When does Goat come out? Goat's in theaters nationwide now. For home viewing, the movie should arrive on video-on-demand platforms in March and likely will hit a streaming service in the spring. Most of Sony Animation's movies end up on Netflix. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 33 minutes after the hour. Now here's a review from Books. Book lovers bring back the Meet Cute event from Claire Mulroy. Love is in the air and on the shelves. Where better to find a literary cutie than at the bookstore singles event? This was the ethos 5 days before Valentine's Day at Book Club Bar in Lower Manhattan at an event created by Board of Dating Apps, an organization eager to overpower online dating culture with in-person connection. We're about rom-com culture, says Grace Clark Delgado, one of the on-site hosts. Dating culture feels like we can't have that, but when you come to this, you absolutely can. If guests felt any stakes given the impending heart-shaped holiday, Boda made it clear there were none. There would be no speed dating activities or red lighting, just mingling amid walls of bookshelves on a weeknight. You could lock down a Valentine, or you could just meet a new friend. Some participants go home with a new connection, and others flirt a little and then buy some books, Clark Delgado says. Where book lovers meet their match. When I arrived at Book Club Bar, the evening readers still dominated the bar stools. The back room, reserved for the event, was empty. The East Village Bookstore and Bar has a regular lineup of events, but they are mostly known as a place for a date with your hardcover. Yet, when I looked up for my interview with Clark Delgado less than 10 minutes later, the room was packed with singles, palpably warmer and spilling over into the main section of the bar. Participants traded drink tickets for glasses of wine. Some entered confidently, others overwhelmed. Participants sometimes bring friends, but most show up alone. All were greeted by the hosts, who serve as wing people, and a friendly face to come back to. They often help facilitate conversations and match people together. The bookstore setting is a major appeal for participants, Clark Delgado says. Boda hosts events on rooftops and on dance floors, but they return to this bookstore by popular demand once a month. Both sessions this day, one at 6 p.m., another at 9 p.m., sold out at 200 tickets total, founder Jess Evans says. I might be willing to try something newer, potentially out of my comfort zone, in a place that already feels familiar, Clark Delgado says. I'm surrounded by books. These are great kickoff points, like icebreakers. If you were a book, what would you be? Or have you read anything? Can you spot anything on the shelves you've read recently? As I circled the room, I probed attendance. How much of the book's atmosphere sell them on the event? How many of them were looking for a literary lover? Ava Maddox, age 32, was looking to connect with other readers, frustrated by how few Americans read for pleasure these days. She's like a future significant other to have a sense of curiosity, empathy, and read widely. She's not sure she'd want to be with someone who only reads nonfiction or one kind of book. How you gain empathy and learn about people outside of yourself is by reading fiction, Maddox says. Konstantinos Karagias, age 53, loves horror and sci-fi books. He goes to Salem, Massachusetts every year around Halloween and wants a girlfriend who'll join him. The words driven and passionate come to mind when he dreams up a future partner. He's tried many different single events, But because this is book club bar, I figured I'd have a better chance of meeting a smart woman, he says. When dating apps grow stale, singles kick it old school. An overwhelming consensus from the host to the attendees was that people are tired of the online dating hustle. A 2025 Forbes study found that 80% of millennials and 79% of Gen Z report feeling burnt out by dating apps. Most attendees I talked to said the apps feel transactional. They're annoyed by how long it takes to actually meet up in real life. They're craving a return to the original model, the meet cute. Dating apps feel so clinical to me. I read a lot of romance books as well. That magic doesn't exist anymore, says attendee Shreyas Sithala, age 24. He heard about the event while visiting Book Club Bar 2 weeks ago. He figured a bookstore would be a good place to meet like-minded readers. Attendees also warmed up with a bit of an incentive. Host picked up a pair who really hit it off and gave them tickets to the Metropolitan Opera for the following week. Nayam Nidamarti, age 36, a winner, she and the other winner, a 30-year-old Jason Burke, both felt frustrated with dating apps. They're also both fantasy readers and have read Sarah Maas's Throne of Glass. Everyone's like, there's so many fish, and I'm like, it's a cesspool, not the fish you want on the dating apps, says Nidamarti. I do better when I meet people organically. I just don't do well on the apps. I don't think people get my humor. Or it's like pen pals and you just want to talk forever. I'm not your wife. You are not at sea at war. Why are we writing to each other for 2 weeks? We should just meet up. Boda, which started in London just more than 2 years ago, regularly hosts parties in New York. Its in-person mixers have led to friendships, relationships, proposals, weddings, and a few Boda babies, as Evans and Clark Delgado call them. Boda gave me my confidence back, says host Samantha Rudder, age 31. Most hosts start as attendees and then want to get more involved. Rudder takes pride in being someone who attendees can look to for comfort or conversation when they're feeling anxious. She says she feels proud of every person who walks through the door. Someone did the bravest thing they could tonight. New York Fashion Week. Stars heart Lauren's enduring appeal, from Anka Reed. Ralph Lauren's latest fashion show served as the perfect pre-Valentine's Day date night for Lana Del Rey and her husband. The songstress and husband, Jeremy Dufresne, stepped out together February 10th, looking loved up for a glamorous night out on the New York City streets. Del Rey, who like Ralph Lauren has become synonymous with visions of Americana in her music, donned a romantically ruffled cream low-cut long-sleeve blouse, pairing it with a skirt that was delicately embroidered with flowers. She paired the whimsical look with a brown leather blazer and cognac cowboy boots. The singer wore her hair in loose curls, while Dufresne kept his long locks under a black trucker hat, rocking a worn leather jacket and jeans. And though the devil may wear Prada, Anne Hathaway wears Ralph Lauren, arriving to camera flashes in a sheer black ruffled lace halter dress, with a daring low back and topped with a chocolate brown feather coat and black cowboy boots. Del Rey Hathaway make up Ralph Lauren front row. Del Rey joined Hathaway in leading a front row of stars that included Oscar-winning actress Ariana DeBose, Gilded Age actor Morgan Spector, and his wife actress Rebecca Hall, Task star Emilia Jones, Riverdale actress Lily Reinhart, and supermodel Joan Smalls. Designer's Fall-Winter 2026 runway served as the unofficial kickoff to New York Fashion Week, which began in earnest February 11th. For Lauren 86, the adventure of fashion set the tone for the season with an incredible show, kicked off by the none other than top model Gigi Hadid. Hadid strutted down the runway of Tribeca's Clock Tower building, a former Gilded Age palazzo turned art gallery turned catwalk for the evening, in a chocolate brown tweed vest and matching skirt, with a deep brown turtleneck underneath and a silver chain belt perched on her hip, paired with supple brown leather boots and a bag. The designer continues to redefine what it means to be a classic American brand, finding new ways to be incredibly modern while remaining recognizable within the codes of the brand identity. The swish of chainmail coming down the runway was audible as models slinked down the catwalk decked in statement pelts and belts. Brooches befit the tweed tailoring, and velvet was modernized in a sleek olive green columns dress and a little black evening gown. Cinched waist and gasp-inducing outerwear reflect the renegade spirit and the confidence of a woman that inspired Lauren, according to the show notes. Hathaway absolutely loved new Ralph Lauren looks. Post-show, Hathaway could be overheard saying she absolutely loved the collection, which she said provided the juxtaposition of ease and strength. We all need to be comforted, but we need to be strong at the same time. Her fellow actresses in the front row recalled their early memories of Ralph Lauren in their own closets. When it was time to buy a piece of Ralph, I went for shoes, DuBose tells USA Today. I needed just a really beautiful standard black pump, but I got it in suede. I still have it, actually. Now I feel like I'm going to wear it in this week. Task actress Jones, who starred as Maeve Prendergast in the critically acclaimed HBO series, has her mom to thank for the gift of the American designer from across the pond. My mom handed down some amazing Ralph Lauren pieces that she used to wear when she was like 20. Anytime I wear them out for dinner or anything, people are always like, "Oh my God, I love your top," Jones says. The brand is so timeless. You're listening to a reading today of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 48 minutes after the hour. Now it's time for Section C, which is sports. Bronze. Diggins fights off Pain Cave from Sydney Henderson. Jessie Diggins, the most decorated cross-country skier in U.S. history, is adding to her collection of Olympic hardware. Following two disappointing results to start the 2026 Winter Olympics, Diggins returned to the podium and claimed a bronze medal in the women's 10-kilometer freestyle interval start on Thursday, February 12th, following a gutsy performance that ended with her wailing in pain. The 34-year-old competed with bruised ribs suffered in a big crash on Saturday, which made it difficult to breathe and ski. Diggins told NBC she collapsed in exhaustion after crossing the finish line in bronze medal position with a time of 23:38.9. Her efforts secured her fourth career Olympic medal in her fourth and final games. Diggins immediately grabbed at the right side of her abdomen after she collapsed in the snow. She remained down for several minutes as American teammate Haley Swerbill took off her skis and consoled her. Swerbill eventually helped Diggins to her feet, and they shared an embrace, before Diggins' signature smile emerged. Diggins had to dig deep into the pain cave during the race, a special place she goes when things get tough. Sweden's Frida Karlsson, 22:49.2, and Ebba Andersson, 23:35.8, finished in first and second place. Thursday's result marks Diggins' best Olympic finish at the 10 kilometers freestyle, after previously finishing 5th at the 2018 Pyeongchang Games and 8th at the 2022 Beijing Games. Itching to start. U.S. men ready to flip it over and get right into winning mode, because that's what we're here for, from Helen St. James. Much as they relish life in the athletes' village at the 2026 Winter Olympics, the American men's hockey players are ready for their games to begin. The U.S. started its preliminary round on Thursday, February 12th, against Group C cohort Latvia, 4 days after arriving in Italy and after 3 practices. There are 2 more prelim games, then the stakes grow. We've gotten adjusted and we've had some fun and hung around the village. But now it's time to play, and that's why we're here, Red Wings center Dylan Larkin said after practice Wednesday at Santuglia Ice Hockey Arena. With the guys we have and the camaraderie and the team talk, I think it's easy for us to flip it over and get right into winning mode, because that's what we're here for. Matthew Tkachuk predicted the hockey is going to be intense, not a lot of ice. It's going to make for some great physical, fast, and competitive hockey. The Americans held their most intense practice since arriving on a charter last Sunday, spending about half of the hour-long practice on special teams. You can see the guys are excited to play, Coach Mike Sullivan said. They're excited to get started here and compete. We were real happy with just the level of intensity out there. We're going to do our best to try to play the game that sets us up for success. We think we have size, we think we have speed, we think we have skill, and we're going to try to play that game. Village life. Team Canada General Manager Doug Armstrong defended the decision to have his players move to hotel rooms rather than stay in the village. The players have always had a hotel room in all the Olympics prior to this, and in Vancouver and Sochi, he said. This is no different than the tournaments we had before. We just want to give our players that optics to stay where they're most comfortable to prepare for the games. The Americans are sounding a different note. Asked if there were hotel rooms for players, U.S. Men's General Manager Bill Guerin said, "No, these guys are the best of the best. They're professionals. They know exactly what they want and what they need. And from everything that I hear from the guys, they're very comfortable in the village. They like being together. I think it's great. It's good for their camaraderie and good for their chemistry. It's what they want. It's not what I want or Mike wants. It's what they want and what they need to perform at their highest. And if they feel that's it, then that's it." Players have joked about the intimate quarters. "We're sleeping 6 inches apart," Jake Ottinger said of he and roommate Jeremy Swayman, but consider it part of being at the Olympics. "We just had all that expectation of being there, and that's how USA Hockey always has done it," Brady Tkachuk said. "For us, it's been one of the highlights. We're all on one floor right next to each other, so you just have to go out in the hall, pop into the guys' rooms, and just hang out." Matthew Tkachuk said earlier in the week he was giving his brother a kidney shot at night to get him to stop snoring. "But I've been sleeping great, so my kidneys have been fine," Brady said. "I haven't woke up sore, so it's been some great sleep." A team bigger than your sport. The American men spent Tuesday evening cheering on the American women in their 5-0 victory over Canada. "I called my wife last night and said I have a new favorite player," Guerin said. "It's Abby Murphy." Matthew Tkachuk said, "Caroline Harvey is like Bobby Orr. She was the best player on the ice, and it felt like by a lot. She was incredible. I got to spend some time with her today at the USA Hockey House. What a great girl and an unbelievable player. She was awesome." Being at the Olympics has offered bonding unlike anything else. It's a really unique experience on so many different levels, Sullivan said. The guys are really enjoying the opportunity to stay in the village. They get to meet other athletes that are part of the U.S. team that's over here. I think you realize that you become part of a team that's bigger than your sport. Coach Snoop Dogg. Among the cooler things the team has done is to meet Snoop Dogg, who is serving as an honorary coach at the games. Probably one of the few people I've met that's kind of larger than life, Larkin said. You look at him, he doesn't even look real. Snoop Dogg pumped up the team with a speech, mentioning the rivalry with Canada, and in general left players awestruck and in stitches. It was great, Matthew Tkachuk said. He was awesome. We had a bunch of guys from the team in there. He was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. He had some great one-liners and just made for a hilarious 15 or 20 minutes. Minding the nets. Sullivan didn't want to name a starting goaltender, but it's likely by Connor Hellebuyck, the Americans' top guy at last year's Four Nations Face-Off tournament. The Americans will play again Saturday, 3:10 p.m. Eastern against Denmark on USA Network, and Sunday, 3:10 p.m. Eastern against Germany, USA Network. So expect Oettinger or Swayman to appear in one of those. U.S. ice dancers undecided on future, from Cindy Henderson. Madison Chalk and Evan Bates are undecided on their future after the American husband and wife duo won silver in ice dance at the 2026 Winter Olympics, falling 1.43 points short of gold medal winners in Laurence Fournier-Bedreuil and Guillaume Césarin of France, despite turning in a season-best free skate. When asked if this was their last dance, Bates candidly said, "I'm not sure. We've got a lot to be proud of and a lot to be grateful for because we've had an incredible career," added Chuck. Sometimes that's just how it shakes out. This is the story for us, and I wouldn't change anything. Milana Cortina was widely expected to be Chalk and Bates' fourth and final games. Although the couple didn't implicitly state they would retire afterward, Bates said, they put all of our effort and emphasis to peak at this event. Immediately, right now, it's really hard to say what the career plans will be, but TBD, Bates added. Bates, who turns 37 on February 23rd, said the couple would need time to process the results and reflect on the experience before making any decisions. When things settle, we'll be super proud and look back on our time here and be happy with everything that was up to us, he said. We really did our best. Only one figure skating duo has competed in 5 Olympic Games together in history. Margarita Drebsko and Povilas Vengis of Lithuania competed in 1992, 94, 98, 2002, and 2006. To know the next snowboard star is to know his cat, from Gentry Estes. Like a proud parent, young Alessandro Barberi searched his phone, eager to show off his pride and joy. So many snowboard videos, he said impatiently, scrolling through. I want my cat. To know Barberi, only 17 and making his Olympic debut for Team USA, is to know Bella. She is a 3-year-old Maine Coon cat, beautiful and expensive, gray and white, a whopping 17 pounds and tall enough to reach Barbieri's waist when she stretches, he said. Before long, Barberi found Bella in his phone. He holds up a photo, then another of her curled up, almost posing with her head upside down. It makes him smile. Before competitions, in fact, Barbieri's mother sends cat photos to him, wherever he might be, as a superstitious reminder of home. That's why your nickname is Kitty Kitty Meow, said U.S. halfpipe teammate Chase Josie. True enough, said Barbieri, though he adjusted slightly, Kitty Cat Meow Meow. Or you can use the Italian Stallion. That works as well. No, Josie replied, Kitty Kitty Meow Meow. In an odd way, it fits. Just because Barbieri is unique like that. Hailing from Portland, Oregon, he comes across as personable and endearing, impossible to view as a stranger for long, and easy to remember. The kid showed up to a pre-event press conference at Livigno Snowpark on February 9th wearing sunglasses. Quite possibly, Barbieri is America's next great Olympic snowboarding talent. Not me saying that the U.S. snowboarding legend Shaun White said it. Being interviewed February 5th on the Ralph Lauren red carpet at these games, White said to watch out for Alessandro, earmarking Barbieri as a potential breakout star during the Olympics. He's incredibly talented, White said of Barbieri. One of the last events, he landed 2 triples in his run, which I've maybe seen one other person do before. Told of White's comments, Barbieri beamed. Having Shaun say that about me, imagine your idol, like Lionel Messi, saying, watch out for this kid. Barbieri said, I grew up watching White and watching him dominate, and his mentality of winning at all costs. Just having him say that about me and believing in me that I'm kind of good at snowboarding is just crazy. While young, Barbieri is indeed a promising talent. He finished second in halfpipe at the Winter Youth Olympic Games in 2024. In February 2025, he finished third at a World Cup event in Calgary. Multiple Olympics are likely in his future, but none set up more special than this one in Italy. Barbieri's parents are Italian. They immigrated to the U.S. from Italy in 2006, he said. 2 years before he was born. Barbieri said he has been dreaming about this since he was much younger, having the chance to compete in an Olympics in Italy. Lots of his family members are still in Italy, and many of them are planning to be on hand to watch him perform. My parents, my uncles, my nieces, my cousins, my grandparents. It's going to be like a big group of family, he said, so it's going to be very cool. Sounds like it could be a lot of pressure, especially for a 17-year-old. Barbieri responded to that thought with a wave of the hand. That might sound cocky, but I don't get nervous. He stressed that confidence was essential in the halfpipe, comparing it to driving a car or riding as a passenger in one, meaning that if you are driving, you know your safety's in your hands. As the press conference ended, Barbieri stood up, put the sunglasses back on, and raised 2 fingers like a lead singer dropping the microphone after an encore. Kitty cat, meow meow, out. Advances with an eye on medal. You haven't seen anything yet. That was Alessandro Barbieri's message Wednesday after he finished 4th in the men's halfpipe qualifier at Livigno Snowpark. Barbieri, the highest finisher of the 3 Americans who advanced in the 12th man final on February 13th, posted an 88.50 on the 3rd overall run of the competition. Though he'd ultimately finish behind Australian star Scotty James, 94, and Japan's Yuto Tsuka, 91.25, and Russell Yamada, 90.25. It was a highly encouraging Olympics debut. And get this, what I really have in my head is a 10. That was more like a 6, Barbieri said. I have a lot more in the tank. I kind of expect myself to be near the top after all the hard work I've put in. I'm pleased, but not too shocked. On a second run that set up more as a practice run, Barbieri suffered an odd fall, slipping after landing a trick and setting up for the next. He will be joined in the final by teammates Chase Josie and Jack Pates, who finished 11th and 12th, making them the final 2 riders to advance out of the 25-man qualifying event after a tense wait until the finish line. Stoll smashes Olympic record in 1,000. From John Peter and Nancy Ummer. For Jordan Stolz, it's 1 down and 3 to go. The American speed skating phenom won the gold medal in the men's 1,000 meters Wednesday, February 11th, officially starting his quest for 4 golds at the 2026 Winter Olympics. In his first race at the Milano Speed Skating Stadium, Stolz set an Olympic record with a time of 1 minute, 6.28 seconds to go along with the world record he already owned, 1 hour, 5 seconds, and 37 seconds, while racing in front of Snoop Dogg and speed skating legend Eric Heiden. Yeah, it's really cool that I was able to win in front of both of them, I guess, Stolz said. I'm sure they were enjoying it. I definitely didn't disappoint them. Jennings de Boo of the Netherlands took silver in 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 78 seconds. And Zengin named earned bronze in 1 hour, 7 minutes, 34 seconds. To collect 4 golds, Stolz, the 21-year-old from Wisconsin, will need to win each of his remaining races. The 500 on Saturday, the 1500 on February 19th, and the mass start on February 21st. There's a little less pressure now that I've got 1 gold medal, he said. The pressure was kind of rising towards this one. I could definitely feel it. The achievement would elevate him to legendary status possessed by Heiden, the U.S. speed skater who in 1980 became the only athlete to win 5 gold medals in a single Winter Olympics. That would be a little bit crazy. Super historical, Stoll said. I don't know if it's going to happen, right? It's hard enough to get 1 gold medal. But 1 is huge. The sound of Stolz on ice. Stolz raced against de Boo, and 600 meters into race, Stolz trailed the Boo by 0.4 seconds. I had high hopes, but his last lap, it was just incredible, and I heard him coming at 800 meters, de Boo said. And then I just knew it was too late. You hear his skates coming, and it's pretty creepy. It's as creepy, and of course I'm getting used to it now. That's feeling when you know he's coming. It's not a nice feeling, of course. De Boo had to settle for the silver. Still, Stolz acknowledged being nervous with 400 meters left to go in the race and de Boo leading. I knew I'd have to have a really good last lap, he said. I thought about it before the race, that I'd have to try to catch him over the last lap. I threw 2 arms down just because I didn't want to lose. Waiting and waiting some more. The crowd seemed gripped by the clock as it counted down 15 minutes. That's how much time waited until a reskate by Dutch skater Jep Wenmers, who nearly fell when he was obstructed by his paired opponent in the first run. The officials granted Wenmers a solo reskate, and he came back on the ice roughly 15 minutes after all the scheduled pairs had races. Wenmers won the World Championship in the 1,000 last year, but Stolz indicated he was far less nervous about the reskate than he was anxious to take a celebratory lap around the rink while holding the flag. Stolz said he knew it would be hard to reskate 30 minutes after skating 1,000 meters. Sure enough, Wenmers failed to improve on his initial time, and then it was official. The gold belonged to Stolz. It's pretty unlucky what happened to him, Stolz said. I wouldn't want to have that to anybody. What seems to have been more agonizing was the 4 years Stolz had to wait since his Olympic debut to get another shot at medaling. It's one thing to win all of them in the World Cup, he said. To finally have it right, to do it in the Olympics, that's something that takes a lot of planning. And I think I did it well. NBA switches up the look of its All-Star Weekend. From Lorenzo Reyes. NBA All-Star Weekend, over the last several years, has faced sharp criticism, even from the highest levels of NBA management. I thought this was a little better, but it was a miss, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said in March 2025 of last year's event. We're not there in terms of creating an all-star experience that we can be proud of and that our players can be proud of. The 2025 All-Star Game learned far too much toward spectacle, creating a disjointed viewing experience. Last year marked the final time TNT would broadcast the event, ending a streak of 23 consecutive seasons. To commemorate that, the NBA halted play during the middle of the All-Star Game for a series of skits with comedian Kevin Hart and the Inside the NBA crew. This year, the NBA is turning to a U.S. versus world format, but it's a structure a four-time All-Star thinks might be a case of too little, too late. The lackluster response to the news really just showed me, like, man, All-Star may really be dead, Draymond Green said in a podcast episode that published November 17th. I think people have just moved on from the whole entire idea. Fan patience may also be wearing thin, as the All-Star Game and its satellite events have lacked organic competitive spirit, coming at a time when overt attempts to tank are marring the regular season. A preview of the three marquee events and with a glimpse of what fans can expect. Slam Dunk Contest. This arguably is the event most under pressure, and that's saying something. The days of having stars compete in the slam dunk contest are gone. The last player to participate in a dunk contest the same year he was an All-Star was Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics in 2024. Brown is an exceptionally gifted player, though he's not a high-flying dunker. Before Brown, the last All-Star to compete in the dunk contest was Victor Oladipo in 2018. Instead of stars, the NBA has deployed uber-athletic young players, often G-Leaguers, who aren't household names or rotational players. And while that has led to flashes of brilliance, Mac McClung dazzled through his two-year stretch of dominance in the event, increased incentives to lure stars would go a long way. Out of this year's participants, 2 average fewer than 10 minutes per game, and 3 of 4 are below 13 minutes below game. The general apathy has even reached participants. In theory, Magic rookie guard Jace Richardson is a nod for nostalgia. His father, Jason Richardson, is a 2-time champion, 2002-2003, of the contest, was one of the premier dunkers of his generation. Yet the younger Richardson's highlights from this season show a player whose dunks lack the sizzle fans want to see. In a social media message responding to Orlando's congratulatory message that encouraged Richardson to get it, his reply was regrettably symbolic of where the dunk contest is. I guess, he wrote, followed by an emoji of a face crying with laughter and another of a man shrugging. Predicted winner, Keshad Johnson from the Miami Heat. The three-point contest. Of the 3 events, the three-point contest is the most secure. For one, the game's best shooters tend to compete. For another, it's a low-level lift for players, young stars and vets alike, which encourages their full engagement. This year should be no different, though the absence of Warriors icon Steph Curry, largely considered the greatest shooter of all time, is a blow. Still, the field has plenty of talent across the board to make this compelling. This year, the three-point contest has some juice with the return of Damian Lillard, the two-time champion 2023-2024, who is competing despite his missing the entire regular season with a torn Achilles tendon. If Lillard wins, he'll tie the record for most titles of all time. The predicted winner? Con Knuckle, Charlotte Hornets. The NBA All-Star Game. Perhaps looking to seize on momentum the NHL and pro hockey has generated with its four nations face-off, the NBA is turning to a U.S. versus world format. It will pit two 8-man teams of domestic players, one of youngest stars and the other of established veterans, against a third 8-man team of international players in a round-robin tournament. It's an idea that some promise, but only if players fully buy in. Over the last decade, players have loafed through the games, treating defense as a suggestion, not a mandate. That needs to change. I want to push the great players of this sport to also play hard, like I will. Victor Wembanyama said recently in French of effort in all-star games. We'll see how it goes, but if they don't want to go hard, we'll have to do it without them. This is a positive sentiment, and one that should see a small spike in competitiveness, but it's insufficient. The NBA needs to incentivize participants further so that they can organically intensify their levels of competition. And while league executives may find these optics unsavory, there's a very simple solution here. They can increase the purse for the winning team and sweeten the kicker further for the player who wins MVP. Being an all-star is an honor, yes, but these players are giving their time to the event, and that may be the most precious commodity of all. You've been listening to a reading of the USA Today for February 13th. We read the USA Today weekdays at noon. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555. Your reader for this hour has been Nancy.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have episode number 32 of Mark Twain by Ron Chernow. At 3 o'clock, we have the New York Magazine, and at 4 o'clock, a re-airing of today's Buffalo News. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio Reading serves people who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. From its broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga, just north of Clinton Street. Almost 40 years and more than 300,000 hours of radio readings to those unable to read printed matter on their own. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of newspapers, magazines, and books. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call us at 716-821-5555. Are you facing challenges with vision loss and need help with your smartphone, sending emails, navigating the internet, and staying connected with your family? VIA, Visually Impaired Advancement, is offering free classes for seniors weekly at multiple locations with free assistance for your smartphone, email, and internet skills. There's a new session every week, and it rotates between the South Towns and the North Towns. It's at your local Erie County libraries and at 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. For more information, call Elhana Porter at 716-888-4632. Again, that's 716-888-4632. You're listening to your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, books, and other printed matter. People who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula are provided special reading radios. This year, the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service marks almost 40 years on the air. A broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading Service studios are at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga. The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service website is nfradioreading.org. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555.